Um, what I just was speaking on in the last upload, it was only like 8 minutes, so it should be uploaded in a second. But to add to that, though, to imply that what divine did made some form of a mistake and needed to now go through a middleman just to come to the divine would remove the actual issue that's taking place and place that on divine's creation. And that never was a thing. Particularly manipulation is a thing, involvement is a thing. But these things can be healed. You know what I'm saying? These things can be healed. Being lost on your path, those things can be corrected. So in initial, the process wasn't that. It was a good way to get assessment to be placed in something that you was already told that you wasn't supposed to be placed in the way you wanted it. Now keep in mind, when the question was asked initially, when the golden ages was going on, could we have our own particular religion, God aspect, whatever, and they were told no, it doesn't work that way. They wasn't told that they couldn't have a clear understanding on what that was. They just was told that you can't do something that's asinine. You can't do something that's ass backwards. You can't do something that doesn't resonate. That's what they were told. And because lack of understanding and comprehension to anything that was going on at the time, ego, envy, and placement, lack thereof of their own time and creation, is the reason why a lot of these false fortitudes came into fruition. That's just the reason why. Like, I don't know why nobody wants to look at it like that. It's like you want to take pieces from this time and add it in to try to make it relevant. No, all that shit is fake. All that shit is a ploy to be a part of something that wasn't esoterically correct. It wasn't spiritually correct. It wasn't an essence of frequency correct. It wasn't a creation by purpose correct. That's why I was able to get manipulated. And it was told that if you did this, it's going to be a failed situation. The acclamation is not going to happen right, which is what we see in actuality. So easily manipulation, that's not a strong tool. You can use manipulation on something that doesn't know what that is. You can have all the traits in the world against things that don't move in the way that you do. That doesn't make you powerful. That just makes you different. That makes you something unknown. And based off the value of two dimensions having to coincide with one another in some aspect, the way we would handle those things has never been addressed. There's not a manual on that. So this is like rude, right? It's the only word we have for that. Like super disrespectful. Like, you know what I'm saying? You go somewhere knowing that you are different and you attempt to inflict your difference on the entirety, right? That's a problem based off something that we didn't have no jurisdiction or comprehension on through time and space. Growing to know it as the effect or the experience took place, as the change grew, then of course you're going to learn what those things are. You know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, a lot of people didn't know what they were. And when they came into fruition, that's just what happened. Period. That's just what happened. So there's no conquering. You know what I'm saying? There's no conquering when there's no relevance. You know what I'm saying? Like, fish know that they're hunted. So that's why you have to try to catch them. You know what I'm saying? Animals, became food for things. Eventually, those low-level thought patterns had to manifest in some value, right? In a fleshly way of thinking, that's not civil. People back in the day had animals of all values as camaraderie. Like, it wasn't even like in the pet notion. It was like, nah, they're there and we're here. And it's like that. You know what I'm saying? But that comprehension can't be studied or more known right now, despite the value of having a pet, because things has been changed so much. The worst of those values in DNA can be, you know, genetically placed and spliced when the creation is not solidified. So things start to look different when you look at everything for how it really is actually. And then ultimately, it's not like this is a finger pointing situation. It's like, yo, just don't be dumb. You can still rise in your own rank because it's a given. You wouldn't be here if that wasn't a possibility. It's just a respect that has to be given first. It has to be a balance, like a pure balance. And then you have to do it individually. This is not cultural. Because when it's cultural, you can take the blame off particular characters. Like, nah, I was just there. Nah, you was there, but you was involved. If we don't take responsibility for everything having an opportunity, how are we going to be the top of the food chain mentally, physically, spiritually, characteristically, as a culture of people, not just individual cultures? I'm talking about as a whole, you know, known humans. How do we do that without having a procurity for everything? Only animals seek to separate and dominate. So there may be a human species that's part animal because they can't separate from that characteristic. And thus the rest of the human population needs to put that in this right jurisdiction. Otherwise, that's what the entirety of the correct notion stands under. And I don't understand nothing less than the value of divine comprehension. So that's going to be a problem. And I don't think for the most part, a lot of you even feel the same way, no matter what jurisdiction you're in as far as lineage. There is some in each sect that has this issue. They're weaker in their spiritual connection and comprehension. These little small sects is what motivate the the shortcomings to the mind to play those particular roles. That's what motivates it. So if you're not willing to stand up and kind of shift that value or be the energy that negates that value, then how are you doing divine work? You can't always expect divine to show up, especially when you know things. You got to be able to do the little stuff so you can grow to do the older stuff. You heard? I was just thinking about it when I was dropping that other part, and I was like, yeah, I need to add a little bit to that. Because y'all got to know Almighty is just Almighty. It's full. Like, it doesn't need assistance. You know what I'm saying? So a damn sure don't need nobody running to tell it that something else is bad. Like, think about that. Divine stripped something of the universal energy, but it still has an audience. That's almost like being a vegetable or being like crazy or something, and they're allowing you to run around crazy. But everybody else don't know that's the penance you're dealing with. Because that thing believes divine is not almighty. If you want to go according to their story, it believes that the almighty is the greatest thing in the world, so it can manipulate it. So then it can run to the divine and say, hey, look at your creation. They're not doing what you said. See, you didn't know that. But doesn't that defeat the purpose of divine being almighty, if that's the case? If that entity can tell divine something about his creation, doesn't that defeat the purpose of divine being almighty? That's like saying divine can't see that own self. And it needs that thing in that place to see if you're weak that way. That's some retarded shit. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Like, how you going to make a story and then everybody be running scared because you believe that shit to be real? And the Almighty never needed no help from nothing. So a lot of these things is starting to look like just because you didn't understand how they were saying it, you believed it. And still you believe it because you're justifying how they were saying it to you without no real comprehension of what the fuck they're saying to you. You're justifying falsities without even having a jurisdiction on understanding what greatness at its full totality can be. You're scaling it at certain inadmissibles, and then you're claiming that to be what you believe everything. That means you're not classified to think right. I'm just saying, like, I don't care how I don't care how romanticized or how articulate somebody says something that's said by somebody else. If you don't comprehend what the hell is being said, you're just regurgitating. You can rebook it a million ways from Sunday, but the absolute knowledge is always the absolute knowledge, and that cannot be changed, despite what scripture says. What? I don't give a damn about nobody's experience. That cannot be changed. People's perception can be faltered, but the absolute of what Almighty is cannot be changed. The beginning and the end will never change. You can't bend that. You can say what you want in the middle of those stories, but the beginning parts and the ending parts is always controlled by the almighty source of all things, which still to this day, y'all don't even have a clue how that shit really works. But everybody got something to say in the middle part. I can't be the only one seeing this shit. And if that's the case, it is what it's going to be. All praises to the Most High. Supreme afternoon, supreme evening, supreme rising, wherever you are in the world. NAGA the Wise.